You are both the player and the architect of your own reality. Every moment that you exist, you have an opportunity to evolve your avatar and experience what the world can teach you. Today, I sit down with my good friend, Ellen Rohr, who is notorious for her cosmic energy. And we're gonna peer into her mind to understand how she plays her life in God mode. All right, we're gonna go into the
God mode.
We're going into God mode.
Okay.
We're gonna go into parallel universes, string theory.
All right.
You believe in simulation theory, right?
Well, I don't know the gaming world.
Okay.
Okay, I will say that my granddaughter, who's 6, my son gave her a Nintendo Switch for her birthday, and she is all in.
Yeah.
So, and then I watched the two of them play. So even when my son played video games, like I watched Zelda.
Yeah.
And he was Link, and he's moving through. So I've only watched people play games. So I think I understand the concepts, but not the language.
So what games did you play when you were?
Oh, I'm so old that we played Pong.
Okay. Was there any video games?
No, I didn't really participate that much, but my son, he wasn't, thank goodness, he wasn't addicted to games like some of his friends were, which is like, I think I just lucked out. I know how to play Pac-Man.
Okay.
I never really had the fever for it. Max liked those, he did like those adventure games, like
Zelda.
Like Zelda. And I did get really turned on to, the one, it was just Vegas and the Fallout.
Oh, Fallout.
Fallout.
She's cool.
Okay, now my niece has Fallout Boy tattooed on her calf.
Okay, so
she's
this is
way into it, and I've watched the game, and then I watched the series. So
this is the perfect setup. First of all,
yeah,
Fallout
so I
is
have
amazing.
a hint.
Okay.
Fallout is amazing.
So this is what you're describing is what's called the law of accelerating returns. So you played a board game. Your next generation played Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Your kids played Zelda. The next generation's playing Fallout, and your grandkids, my kids now, play in virtual reality.
Yeah.
Okay? And you give virtual reality another 10 years, another 20 years, it's going to be indistinguishable from reality, right? Mm-hmm. So now play this 500 years in the future, 300 years, pending we don't go into a world war.
Unless it's Fallout.
Unless it's Fallout, right?
Then we're starting over.
It could be that we end up in a virtual world indistinguishable from reality. And even if it's not true, it's an interesting framework to view life as a game. Mm-hmm. So this is thematically what God mode is. And so I just want to share with you the foundation of it.
I'm in.
And you either rip it apart or tell me what it is. We've talked a lot about theology.
Yeah.
There are elements here.
Yeah.
So in a good game, you need 4 elements. First of all, you need a compelling story. You need to know why you're playing the game.
A hero's journey?
Hero's journey, right?
Okay.
You don't want to play the game, the penny pincher, the factory, or the family business, some weird mafia game. You want to play some kind of the comeback kid game, right?
Or Zelda.
Right?
Never-ending adventure. Yeah.
The second piece is that you want to have characters that are evolutionary driven characters. Okay. We're going to come back to that point. It's very important.
That they develop.
The third is that you have to have game mechanics, rules of how the game functions.
This is life.
And then the fourth is that you have to have a scoreboard, some way to determine whether you can win or lose.
Okay.
So if you looked at life, this world, through the lens of you're a character in a game, you might think 3 things, okay? If you're an NPC, you know what an NPC is?
Non-performing character?
Non-playing character.
A sideliner.
A sideliner. An NPC is somebody who we know in our lives that they're the store clerk. You go to the store, and no matter how many times you walk into the door, they say, "Hey, welcome to such and such. How can I help you today?"
Now, they might be the hero of their own story, but they're a non-playing character
in your story.
In my story.
And they only have a subset of words that they can use. Now, these people are also always in the same issue. Like, it's the guy you always see who's like, I'm always running late, or I'm always in this bad relationship, or I always have this problem no matter what job I go to. These are NPCs controlled by the game. The next level up is that you have what's called AFK. AFK is away from keyboard. Okay?
Away from keyboard.
So that means sometimes people are in your life and they're perfect for you. They're helping you with your journey. And sometimes they move back down to NPC. They just walk away from the keyboard and stop playing. They're up and down all the time. And you know that in our industry where you have a tech who's coming in, he does really well for a couple weeks and then disappears. You're like, what happened? Then he comes back, then disappears. Then you have player one. Player one is the most important character because the game was created for player one.
Is this what you're looking through? Is this you in the game?
You are looking. So right now, you as player one are looking at this house.
Okay.
And this room was designed for you to grow in. Everything here is a clue for you to evolve and become the best version of yourself. This skin that you're wearing is your avatar.
Yeah.
Your real self is behind the facade of what we think reality is. Your spiritual self.
This is the white cap in the ocean.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes. You are in the world, not of the world. Here,
I've heard that
for
before.
religious,
yeah, there you go.
terms.
Okay.
Okay. And Godmode is the ability to play the game without the rules of the game affecting you.
Or creating the rules.
You create the rules. You are the architect of reality. So I believe that this world is a simulation and that businesses are versions of simulations, and it's our job to play as player one to experience the world, and as business owner, it's our job to create the world for our employees in Godmode.
I love this.
Okay.
And are these all actual terms in gaming?
These are all video game terms, yeah.
Okay.
So Godmode, for those that are of a different vintage,
Yeah.
they are like when you got the star in Mario.
Yeah.
And you could just go through all the walls.
You get big. Now we're bigger.
Big,
yeah.
small. You go through the walls. None of the bullets affect you. You're immune. You're outside of space and time.
And then we drop back down again.
Then you go back to player one.
So that can also happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing that I want to talk to you about and get your opinion on is two things. Number one is on player ones. Number two is on Godmode, the creator. Do you believe that the world was designed for you?
Or that I'm designing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one do you believe?
It could be both. I think you can go back and forth between the modes. Like that makes sense to me that at times you're at cause and sometimes you're at the effect of whatever's happening. But was it created? A lot of this, I'm open to the mystery.
Yeah.
Right? That makes sense. I think what I love about business, just to bring it back down to that realm, is that regardless of what other beliefs we have, there's something about the game of business that we can relate to with all of that. Like if you started that conversation with, this is how I feel about theology. This is my theory of theology or philosophy of theology. That might have been more difficult to access than when you put it into the business world.
For sure.
And I think one of the things that you and I have talked about that I love about business is in this world, we can play alongside one another without having to share a philosophy or the same politics or the same religion as everybody else, because we're playing the game now. Yes. And so now these rules and these avatars and the whole Godmode construct seems to work great.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you take it further, what do you think as far as you studied theology? Yeah. Are you seeing parallels in what you've studied?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's, not only through theology, but some through psychedelic experiences, there's no shortage of overlap between being in the world and not of the world, having some kind of rubric or SOP that's what functionally religion is. It's an SOP for how you interact with the world. It's an interface.
Yeah. And so I would say and the conversation I've heard more than the words people use is they'll say, I'm spiritual, but not religious. So religion is a different construct. So religion is going to be the rules of the game in a lot of ways.
Correct.
And you've had, I mean, you grew up religious.
Yeah.
And you were going down that path. What made you decide not to? Maybe share some of that. Like, what was it about the construct that made you not want to play that game?
Well, I think that the rules of the game are good are important for having a good life. I think that if you were Mormon or Christian or Jewish or whatever, following the script would help you navigate through tough times. It would help you understand the world through a specific lens. The lens God doesn't have to be real in order for you to accept those principles.
Yeah.
Like, for example, you can believe a lie and have a good life.
Yeah. Or be okay not knowing.
But thinking this is a good path.
Yeah.
So the truth is, I don't know how I feel about the finality about the specific religion, but I do believe that religion is a good roadmap to view life.
The disciplines of living a life where we've got some boundaries or some suggestions can be good for you. And we talked about this too, like kosher came from, this is a healthier way to eat, was the original
It's
idea.
More difficult with like Judaism and Mormonism as an example, because we're a people of laws. Whether or not you believe is kind of irrelevant to actually the law, that you have to do it regardless. Christianity a little bit obfuscates that.
Well, there's a lot of variations.
But there's only one precondition, which is you have to believe in God, Jesus specifically. And that's the path in. After that, whatever you do is relatively okay. It's not a disqualifier for not getting into heaven.
Did you have a moment though where like you were going down a religious path? Was there one moment, or did it just kind of build up for you that you know how these things happen?
They're gradual, and then all of a sudden.
Yeah. Do you want to share that?
Not really.
Okay. All right.
There was no one moment of clarity where I was like, hey, maybe Noah's Ark isn't real, and maybe it's a good story to learn. But those things are, you just look into it. Maybe they found the ark on a hill. Maybe they didn't. Who knows? What's the point of the story is the better point. Having said that, this is the tie-in. If you experience life either as chaos, like just say you're a technician or a sales guy and you go into a house and you look at the house and you're like, this is completely random. You're kind of going in there like, it could be anything. But if you go in there and think this house was designed for me, because I'm going to go into this house and impact this person, and even if I don't get the sale, I'm going to learn something about myself or this other person. You go in with a different mindset for how you would interact with that thing. You're able to clue find differently.
Chaos is not no pattern. Chaos is a complicated pattern. Weather is a chaotic pattern. So even that is a mindset in terms of, I could say, I'm going to look for the identifiable patterns within a very complex system.
Yeah.
Right? But that then does put you at effect instead of, or at cause as opposed to at the effect of. I think if I were to describe my religious or my spiritual beliefs is that if I default to love, like as soon as I'm starting to feel anxious or edgy or whatever, and I relapse on the regular. Yeah. But the path for me is if I default to love and just give myself some grace, like start right out of the bat, like if so you relapsed, you're back, it's okay. Yeah. And then figure out what would the next move be. Like I do believe that in the actual moment, one choice is going to feel better and one choice is going to feel worse if I'm just experiencing that. And if I lead with love, then I'm going to make a better decision. In other words, whatever happens from that place is going to be good.
So, okay, let me ask you this. So in this Godmode, these characters, you have avatars. Yeah. Right? That's how you present yourself in the game. if you were to design a character, you're to design an avatar, what attributes would you give the avatar to successfully navigate the world?
It would be situational. So, and
Okay.
we talked before too, like you're not the same person at home that you are at work.
Yeah.
So when I go into work, I am going to be the one to bring energy. Energy is really a word that describes kind of my value to a situation.
Okay.
Is I'm not going to be sucking life out of the situation. I'm going to be bringing life into the situation.
So your avatar needs to bring energy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it would be definitely the whole Wonder Woman look,
Okay.
and the big hair and the
Okay.
shield and, you know, the paching, you know, all of that.
Yeah.
You know, it would be fun. It would be exciting. You know, there would be physical action. All of that
But
would
what
be part
attributes would you give the character? So energy is one of them.
of it. Yeah.
Curiosity.
Curiosity.
Why is that important
fun,
for a character?
Fun. I think the way for me to make the most of a situation, I really enjoyed asking people today, like, what's
Yeah.
your motivation for being here? Because I don't know them. So good night. So I don't know them. So it's a chance for me to just, I wonder how they'd respond to that question, or try and deliver a provocative question to see, like, okay, who am I working with here? And then be open to the surprise. Levi was really surprising.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden we look at his like Instagram and he's a nutritionist. That didn't come up. Where is this? What's happening in his life? You know? So I
that's
think
the clue
curiosity. And also I have, was it John Lennon that said that I don't know, but that basic, it's not over till it's over. That idea of the worst things become the best things. That from, what did I hear the other day that I love? The guy named Dave Anderson says, the pain must pay. So even when you go through it, I'm not saying horrible things won't happen,
Yeah.
but that contrast is part of what makes it wonderful. There's going to be some response to that or something that you learned. So I think playing the game for me works best when I am as present as I can be to the situation and responding from a space of love.
So
now then, like, that takes away the need to have more of a theology.
So the avatar
Yeah.
needs to be curious,
Yeah.
energetic, and present.
Yes. And while you and I are also, in fact, my mantra is I am present, connected, and all in with love and expertise. I am of service. Like, that's how I will put the avatar on
Yeah.
when I'm going out. I
That's-
pay attention. I am grateful. I act on opportunity. I forgive. I love more. Like, there's words that I say that lead my life as well as at work, but I try to show up that way. I do relapse though. And I think too, I relapsed with my mom more than anybody else, like, because the patterns were so deep. Like with
Yeah.
you and I'm putting on my best self. I haven't really been a complete jerk to you yet.
Never.
But may not.
Yeah.
Because some of the things that I've overcome or dealt with in past relationships, I don't have to bring to the party.
Right.
But then I think my husband, Hot Rod, is such a Zen master because he's the one I feel safe enough to slip up, you know, and be real with him,
Yeah.
where sometimes, like, in the avatar mode, I'm not as vulnerable as I would be at home. Does that make sense?
It 100%
Yeah.
does. So that is the example that I often give, which is that Clark Kent and Superman
Yeah,
are the
go
same
on about
people.
this. Yeah.
They're the same people, but they show up differently. So Clark Kent doesn't walk around with Superman's problems.
Yeah.
And Superman doesn't go, hey, where are my car keys? You're
Yeah.
Superman, you're flying, right? So, but the people closest to Clark Kent and Superman, they know.
Yeah.
They know. And both of those characters can be vulnerable with their mother, Lois Lane, this and that.
So like, but Clark Kent and Superman are the same person, and you can't always be Superman.
No.
So
but,
we have that duality, which I embrace.
But here's the important piece of this. And this is what changed the way that I view the trades businesses and businesses in general.
Okay.
When you step into the world that I, the owner, the architect, create, I am paying for Superman. So it's okay. You know, like in my mind, when I wake up, I'm Trent Lowenstein. I brush my teeth like Trent Lowenstein, take my kids to school like Trent Lowenstein. And as I get closer to the van, my armor comes on. I can start hearing music. I feel the boots coming up. I feel the cape. I feel the strongness, the energy. And by the time I touch the door, I'm Superman.
Yeah.
And now I'm in this new world, this game, operating as Superman. And Arnold Schwarzenegger has a beautiful, I mean, it's hard to listen to what he says, but it's beautiful in its own way. He says, look, when I was training for Mr. Olympia, my mother called and said that my father died. And I was so focused and so energetic. My mom wanted me to come back for the wedding. I said, no.
The funeral.
The funeral, yeah.
It's
the funeral.
It's all the duality, man. The duality. It's a wedding of sorts.
I want to come back for the funeral. And he said, no, he's already dead. There's nothing I could do about it. I got to push that out of my mind because I'm going to become Mr. Olympia. I'm 2 months out. And so even though that's an extreme example, that is the mentality of people that are like, I'm pushing all this negativity away. When I'm in this world, I'm operating as this character. And this character doesn't have my problems. This character doesn't have my relationship problems, my kids' problems, the dog going to the hospital, the car breaking down. This character is perfect for this game. Mm-hmm. And I think that when you think of here, let me give you an example. Okay. You come to one of my meetings, all right? Yeah. It's 7 a.m. The meeting starts at 7.
Not late.
You come at 7:05.
No.
And I say, Ellen, you're always late. You're always coming late to my meetings. What are you going to say? You're going to say, hey, I got stuck in traffic. I got this, I got that.
It would depend because I've been that troublemaking fence testing person. But here's the thing. What's the consequence if I come in late?
Well,
if there's nothing but you just like doing that, what
do you care?
I don't care.
So if I said to you, now here's the thing. If I said to you, Ellen, the character that you play in this game is one of the most important characters in this game. In fact, if you don't come in at this time, your character doesn't come in this time, the guys can't even get dispatched on time and go save the day for hundreds of people. That's why it's so important that your character is here when the castle opens. Now it's not personally against you.
No, and I like the direction you're going, and I would still, as a gamer, will I die? I'm not. I'm just now I am because we were talking about it. But I would want to know what the consequence was, and it would not necessarily be motivating to me to make sure the rest of the team won.
Really?
Yeah. However,
interesting.
It just depends.
That's kind of not what I expected from you.
Yeah.
Because in my worldview, I would say that the characters need to see themselves in the game. And if they don't see themselves as a piece in this bigger game, you don't belong in my story.
And that's why I had a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
Because again, I would think I'm not as...
You're a free agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you were a basketball player and you could go to, what is it about this game that's going to make me stay? Now, in all the jobs I've had, and about 100 jobs, the few times that someone has really seen me and called me out on that behavior and said, you're going to lose your job. And do you really want to lose your job because you couldn't be here at 7 o'clock? Because if you lose your job, here's what's at risk. Because what is at risk here? I'll go get another job.
No.
But the folks who saw me and called BS on my behavior, going back to one of my coffee shop jobs, Foxy John's in San Diego when I was 21. I got a good story about that. I grew up in
San Diego.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's so funny. I went to college in San Diego.
Where?
At USD, Blue Dome on the Hill.
Do you know where
Jesuit school?
Do you know where Del Mar is?
Yeah.
I grew up in Del Mar.
Oh, did you go to the races?
Yeah, that's like 2 miles from my house.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So Jack Tester was one of those guys who saw me. I couldn't get away with a behavior that wasn't going to serve the whole because he called me out on it.
Yeah.
So that would depend. That would be who are you? Why are you worth following? Here's a story about this.
Yeah, tell me.
One of my jobs is I worked at a ski shop in Park City, Utah. And the guy who owned the shop, his name was Bill. The guy who owned the shop was a local guy made good. And I thought, now this is pretty cool. He grows up. He's got a ski shop. He's got all the quiver of equipment. He's got this great life. He's skiing every day. We're schlepping for him. I really had a lot of respect for Bill. And we didn't see him very often, but I heard that he was going to be at the company party. We're having it at the shop. They were going to bring in food, and Bill was going to speak. And I'm like, I'm all in. I'm like adjusting people's rental boots as their family is falling apart in front of me.
Yeah.
This was my job at the time. And so Bill's going to be there. So I get there and I sit down and I'm like, I cannot wait to hear what this guy has to say. And they go through like the year-end awards and there's all this stuff. And then Bill's up. And Bill says, hey, thanks everybody. It's been a really great year. And there's just one thing that I think is really important and I want to share with you. And I'm like leaning in and he says, when you vacuum the rug, you've got to go in one direction and then turn 90 degrees and because the ski boots are really chewing up this rug. And I'm just like, and I quit the next day.
Yeah.
So that's what has with like the vision, the mission, the purpose. This is something Lincoln was talking about and John was today. Like that is important to some people.
Yes.
You know, and
not to you.
No, to me.
To you.
To me. So unless that's been established, just by virtue of helping the other guys out, you see what I mean? Like
for sure. So that's
the why has to be big enough and include me in such a way.
Yes.
And a lot of times it was really just being seen. I knew there was something big about me. I'm also the kind of person that will blow things up. Right?
Yes.
The computers don't work, things like that. Like I knew there was,
I know the feeling.
There was more to that energy, but what I was doing, I would blow up relationships. You know, I would just like, and until I started to have some people go, that's cool and all, but you really need to work that magic. Like it's like Merlin and King Arthur.
What was the catalyst for you to not blow up those relationships and double down? I
don't like to lose. That's also part of my personality. So like when you don't show up on time, you get a bad reputation. Mm-hmm. Like after a while, the consequences or getting fired, like after a while, it's cute for a minute and you're living your own life. But then after a while, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. So there's, you know, for me, it was like a manner of, okay, like who are those guys that have their Storm? Is it the Avengers? Who are those characters? The X-Men.
Oh, yeah, X-Men.
Okay, they go to Academy because they have these powers that they can't control. That's kind of what it felt like. So that you gotta you got a gift, but listen, that gift isn't so cute until you start to manage your energy. Yeah, not blow people up and not just, you know.
But if you focus that energy, it makes you very sharp.
Yeah, and that really came from, to me, like in that moment, if you said to me, like to coach me, and this is what Jack Tister did really well, is I see that behavior and I see how ambitious you are and where you want to go with your life. This is going to sabotage it for you. Yeah. And I will fire you for it. So you got to decide. And just by virtue of seeing me, it would make me want to stay another day. Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. So I think that I'm older now too. Oh, being older is so much fun because it does also give you it gives you perspective, but it also like, you see how I am with my boundaries. Yeah. Like what I don't want to do, I'm not going to do. Yeah. What I think I can contribute, I'm going to do my very best. I'm going to put on my avatar and show up. Yes. Right. And then I'll also need to turn into Clark Kent. There's also a moment where I have to regroup. There's moments like as extroverted as I am as intensely introverted when I turn into Clark Kent. Right. Right. So I've gotten better at managing that. But to go back like to an overall philosophy of life, like when I am happiest is when I'm in the present moment leading with love. And I fail, and that is the human condition. And then the recovery starts with me letting myself off the hook too.
I have to tell you this.
Okay.
First of all, I love that. Okay. The path to success is often not linear. Oh. Right?
And would you want it to be?
No. No. I think you do want it to be. I think
they don't write books about that.
I think that you do want it to be, and then when it's not, you understand why.
Yeah. In fact, now when there is, John Young, some of my greatest mentors were also really bad at certain other areas of their life. So again, don't build statues. Like
No,
I'm just like
right,
not a
don't build
statue builder.
yeah.
It's like everybody's human and weird, but there's moments of brilliance and genius or connection. But John Young had some things that he taught me that have really shaped how I am as how I show up in my avatar. I would say to him, I got a problem. And he would instantly say, oh, I love problems. I love problems. Like, and he just gave me this thought of like, that's the good stuff. Oh, it's totally the good stuff.
Was there a moment, I didn't want to cut you off a second ago, but was there a moment where your avatar, it was almost as if your avatar started to like realize that pushing wasn't the right thing to do and you had to forgive yourself? What does that like look like? When
like, I think I'm being funny and now I'm being mean.
Got it. You know how to push it to the edge.
You've probably pulled that too.
Yeah, I have that problem.
Yeah, and so like the quantity isn't always quality. You know, that idea that I'm going to go for it if it's funny. But now I am getting better that there is a small voice that will pause me. You know what else will happen? I'll be on the phone and I start complaining or bitching about something and the phone will disconnect. And I'm like, oh, thanks for that.
Nothing
this
bad.
This needed to be cut off.
So, okay, let me give you a fun example of avatar and non-linear path to success. Okay. I was at a house and I was at a shop doing a ride along. It's a company that I wanted to impress. I was like, no problem. I'll get in the van, put on the uniform, put on the boots. I'm like, I'm going to go out and sell some stuff for them up in Canada. So I go out there and knock on the door, take 3 steps back, do the whole thing. Hey, I'm Trent with such and such. He goes, hey, systems are on the back, closes the door, and then I just meet you in the back, right? I'm like, oh, dude, this sucks. So then I'm talking to him about the system, and I'm like, oh, so what are you trying to do? Like talking about the weather, trying to just build rapport, right? That's the first step. That's what they tell you. That's the first step. Guy's not budging, okay? So meanwhile, I got the owner sitting next to me. I've just told him that I'm good at sales. And I'm like, I'm going to fail. Like, this was a bad call. And then I hear a voice in my head that says, Trent, if you're going to fail, that's okay. The only thing I want you to do is try to make him laugh. That's it. If you make him laugh, it's a win. So I was like, okay, I'll just chalk it up to that's it. If I can make him laugh, it's a win. That's the new mission of this game.
Right. What's the bar?
Right? Mm-hmm. So we go up, we get in the house, we go upstairs, and I see a picture of a poster of The Witcher. You know what The Witcher is?
No.
It's a book that turned into a comic book that's a video game, or a TV show and a video game. Okay. So I asked the guy, did you like the video game better or did you like the TV show better? And this guy came to life. He's like, oh my God, the video game was obviously much better. The show made this guy underpowered and blah, 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 blah. He turned into like this animated character. And I was like, I tried to make him smile. If I didn't see the sign, I wouldn't have unlocked him. And now this guy is becoming his best self. He's telling me all about this. He goes, and you want to know another thing? And then we go into his house, to his room, and he's got all these Pokemon cards perfectly lined up. Okay, and they're all graded. And obviously this guy's not married, right? Obviously he's not married, but I'm watching him talk about the Pokemon cards and he's smiling and he's animated and he's talking about them in a really specific way. And the way is technical.
Okay. So now you have a clue.
So now I unlocked the character because I asked a question and I found out how this character wants to be talked to, which is technical. And then I started talking to him about the equipment in a technical way.
Yeah.
Right? Why is variable speed important? Why should you have a higher SEER rating? A, B, and C. And that turned into a $25,000 job. Then we ended up doing his mom's. It was another $25,000. Same day.
So in that moment, you had some kind of spark of intuition. And that could be a God thing. That could be your inner self. Maybe it's all the same thing. So, and that caused you to be present. And now you were open to other clues. Yes. Whereas if you'd stayed stuck in your head, I'm going to lose this job and my boss is going to be mad and then I'm going to have to like backtrack and I'm going to complain about the call taker and you have this other scenario going that's taking you out of just being right there.
Right.
The key is the power is in the present moment. You know where this comes up a lot is go to a convention and someone says, Ellen, I read your book or I love what you said on stage. Let me tell you about my business. And I'm like, all right, give me 5 seconds worth.
Yeah.
And then there is this like monologue that starts with the inequities that have happened. And I'm just like, you are now, and this is where I am. This is kind of the freedom of being older. Like, what have I got to lose? Like, I am going to give this guy some love.
Right.
And it might not be received that way instantly. So I will ask, this is something Keith Mercurio taught me. Are you open to some coaching? You came up to me. Do you want to hear like something that might help?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The point of power is now. And the next words out of your mouth are going to define your reality. That is God mode. In the beginning, there was the Word, and the Word became flesh, is the first line of Genesis.
Yeah.
Right? So this is how creation works. Whatever. That's the last Bible quoting I do because I'll burst into flames. But I know more than I let on.
Yeah.
So, but that's how it happens, like for everything. And Chris was talking about this today. So there's a thought. And then you draw it on paper or you type it into a spreadsheet and you move it from thought form to physical form. And from there, you could build a house or a business. Like this is how the creative process works. So one of my games, one of the rules of my game is that if I speak it, I'm moving it into reality.
I love it.
Yeah. And that's why I'm becoming more sensitive to what others say and what I say.
Yes.
And that's a good game to play.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So now we're moving. Now we're moving into this God mode.
So you gotta like. There was some fluff there that you can narrow down.
No. This is the point, which is like the world. Everybody thinks, or non-entrepreneurs. Yeah. Non-entrepreneurs look at the world like everything is fixed. I go to college, I get to get a master's degree, I'm going to make 70,000, 100,000, 150,000. I put money in my 401k, like some boring, like these people, right? Don't know that the game is whatever you want it to be. You don't have to do any of that. In our industry, you could have not gone to college. Yeah. Become a multimillionaire because you had a good skill and you learned a few business things, right? Little things. Yeah. In the world where you're trying to free your mind, you have to realize that the world is completely malleable. We can make it whatever we want. This could be the worst podcast ever, or it could be an opportunity for me to like peer inside your brain and understand one piece of you that I could take on for my generations. And the meaning we apply to it. So that's where I'm going to choose that. But let's be a little more open. I think maybe there are more lifetimes than these. And in this particular one, I did put some rules of the game out before. I don't know. Maybe that's one way it could go. So in this lifetime, I wanted to explore, business or entrepreneurship. But technicians like this, they come in and they deliver. They hit goal. They don't go. They're not, striving to be at the top of the leaderboard, but they're consistently delivering, and you ride along with them. And this is just a nice, pleasant way to spend the day. But their drive is that they're a big sister in the big sister, big brother. Yes. Or they're really involved with their family, or they have a special needs kid, or like, this is where being more curious is that for this lifetime, for this guy, he is player one. He's in God mode. Yes. And the job is just not that big a deal. I think that my avatar's purpose is to unlock characters. That is my... Well, you demonstrated that with Eric. Yeah. And that is really, Eric, really cool. Yeah. So shout out Eric. So yeah, but that idea, and that is a gift. And you're speaking your truth in such a way that it might inspire someone else. Not everyone is going to be unlocked. No. And that's okay. And they're fine. And we've talked about it. You unlock characters too. I do. I try. And whether they want to be unlocked or not, you leave the key there. I was someone that needed a brick. I've been that person. My mentor, Frank Blau, ripped me a new one when I first talked to him on the phone. But I wouldn't have gotten his attention. He's in Wisconsin. He's in Wisconsin. Yeah, let's go visit him. Yeah. Come up to my house and we'll drive over. We'll drive over to see Frank. And he'll lecture us. Yeah. Yeah, he was someone who just still feels driven to help contractors get what they deserve. So Okay, I want to share another story with you. I was in a van about a month ago.
Okay.
And this guy was struggling with sales. He's a younger guy, and he's coming into being a technician to a sales tech role, okay? And he doesn't like sales. He doesn't like talking about it. He feels uncomfortable. He's a great technician, like cannot articulate his thoughts. Well, I spent 8 or 9 hours with him in the van, and I learned that he is a phenomenal bassist for a jazz band.
Ooh.
And the way that he talked about playing the bass, I was inspired by. And I was inspired by it for a couple reasons. Number one, he's a young guy, and to play jazz is kind of like unique for that age.
Yeah.
And the second piece is that he talks about the communication of music without using words. Just the feeling, like he can anticipate his drummer's thoughts and the action that goes along with it, and so then he anticipates his bass line.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was thinking to myself, like, the way that you talk about music is the same way you should talk about sales. You're so articulate here. You actually have the words. It's not that you can't explain something, it's that you're not passionate about it. Mm-hmm. Just use that framework to describe your panel.
Was it effective?
Very effective.
How about that?
Very effective. Because you find out, when you're able to unlock a character, you find out the best version of that character, and then just tell them it's this, just these words. Mm-hmm. But to your point, if you are incentivizing somebody in the wrong way, it doesn't matter what you say, they don't care. But if you find out that somebody's a foster parent or has a special needs child, or all those other examples you gave, and you're able to tap into that power, the thing that gives them purpose, then you can unlock them and make their potential unlimited.
Yes, because you can't motivate anyone, but you can uncover what it is that's really important to them.
Yes.
And maybe there's a fit with this career, or maybe the conversation goes, you need to be a bass musician. Like there might be, and I think so. While in Godmode, the real danger is trying to get others to be different.
Yes. It's okay. And I'd love to hear I would love to hear like a monologue about this, if you don't mind, like one of your free flowing conscious thoughts. I think it's a huge skill to realize that not all people belong in the game that you're creating. Oh, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and even when if someone is asking me, like the question really is, what do you want? I want to be successful in business. I want to make more money. If that's what you really, really want, and you're open to coaching, I can make a suggestion or two. Yeah. But the bigger question is, what do you really, really want? Do you want to prove that this is impossible? Or do you want to avoid that which you really want to do because your dad wants you to do this? Like there's a lot of, so asking that question, that's a really great question to ask. What do you want? And I think Wayne Dyer says it this way. What do you really, really, really want? Like, let's get beyond the superfluous answer. Yeah. But this is where Hot Rod is over and over again been such a good Zen master to me, because when I'm figuring out, like we're working together, it's his business, his partner dies, I come to work with him, and it's terrible. This is why we end up in marriage counseling and the whole, it's no money. Business is easy, being broke is hard, right? And it was terrible. And then I started with Frank's help, and I went to shops. We joined C2000, Contract 2000 before it became Nexstar and everything. And I'm like starting to get a fever. Like if you charge more than it costs, you manufacture your own money, you can make it. Like it was just, and I'm very excited about it. And so what I really, really wanted was him to be different, Hot Rod to be different. And Hot Rod this whole time is like going, I don't care about any of this. Yeah. And he's telling me, but I'm not hearing it because I think I can change him. Yeah. Come with me to the meetings, the whole bit. And he's just like, I see that you're into this. I'm not. I like to work all by myself. And so we decided not to work together anymore. And we sold the business to our company. And part of me was like, he is going to fail without me. Isn't that terrible? What a nice wife. Yeah. But this idea that we're the only path, like this technician if I fired him, he'd just be lost. Probably not.
No.
If he's not winning, maybe he'd be better off. Like you could help find, another person for him to talk to. You see where I'm going?
I do. And this fits perfectly into the T.S. Eliot quote that I gave you earlier today.
Yeah.
Which is, this is how the world ends, not with a bang, but a whimper. Mm-hmm. You think, oh, I'm not going to work with him and it's going to explode and blah, blah, blah. Doesn't happen.
Actually, he was wildly successful.
Way better off.
by his own yardstick.
Yes.
And so this is what I mean. Hot Rod does what he wants every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what a great life.
And it's not a reflection, when I think about characters not being in the story, it's not a reflection of the character. It's not a reflection of the story. It's just a mix match. Like you wouldn't have Mario in Fallout. Both of them are good games.
Right.
But they don't belong in each other's story.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
yep. So, I did hear this once from a friend who was in AA, and his description of this is, you need to stay in your own hula hoop. There's plenty of work to do in there.
yeah.
So Wayne Dyer says this: until you change, nothing will change for you. But once you change, everything changes. And what I found is everyone changes in response to who you are. So the work is always an inside job.
Right.
That God mode is really just you doing you, and based in love means everybody's going to be better off.
Yeah.
But we don't have to control other people, and that I think is when it tips to the dark side, or try to, because you can't.
No. It has to be your journey in the world.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an interesting example, a personal example for me.
Let's hear it.
I have horrible plane anxiety. Okay. I'm claustrophobic. I don't like heights. I'm not like people and loud sounds. There's like a lot of stimulation going around, right?
Yeah.
And so, but I fly every week. Okay. And I've had this problem for a long time. And I've just always said, like, I have fear of flying, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always sit in the same seat, same airline, same whatever. I won't take flights that I don't have that seat available. And recently I started to think, like, I don't have this thing like in the code of my avatar. This is something I like created for myself. And I could just acknowledge it and say, like, this thing is fear, and it morphs into whatever I want it to be so that it stays with me. I have this relationship with this anxiety. So for example, do I actually have a fear of heights? Sometimes, unless I want to have a fear of the plane goes down and I never see my kids again, or not being able to provide for my wife. It's not the actual thing. It's whatever my projection is, just so that the fear can stay alive.
This sounds like good therapy. Are you healing?
So, yes, I mean, I've had this epiphany a couple times, and I've started to go, like, I'm not actually afraid of anything. I just it is the word for fear, and I create something to fill that void.
Yeah.
But it doesn't need to be there. If I could architect my avatar, I would just say,
or
no.
That's your kryptonite.
What's the kryptonite?
It's just, there are some things that are going to trip us so that you
can
would
evolve.
Yeah. Or that you could be human.
Yeah.
I mean, there certainly you can work through it. I have kryptonite about driving. I'm not a good driver.
Why don't you get a self-driving car?
I take Uber a lot.
Okay.
And I do have
somebody else's
car
driving.
that could drive. I mean, I have the Rivian, but I don't have it set up. And
Shout
I just
out
don't
Rivian.
like, but I get, like, when I get on the freeway, there's something about the way I see that is at once a gift, but is also, I don't have very good depth perception. I don't see right.
Okay.
And so I can feel like the anxiety building in my breath and, the whole bit, just, I can feel the walls closing in. And so I just don't drive on the freeway. Now, is that the way to handle it? Probably could get over it.
Sure.
But I just call it my kryptonite.
Yeah.
So there's that too. But this isn't a life crippling situation for you.
Well, it would be if I gave into it. Mm-hmm. Right. I think that's the thing I have to evolve from. I want to be as introspective as possible, and I want to evolve. Anytime that you would have critiques or coaching opportunities, like, send them my way, I want it. For this in particular, like, I want to overcome this. good story. You know Levi, okay? Levi and I are very afraid of heights. We went up on this pier, 20 feet tall. We like climbed a ladder and we had to jump off. And
into the water.
Into the water, yeah, of course.
Well, I didn't know what was happening.
Yeah, into the water. Everybody else jumped off, and me and Levi were sitting on the thing looking
I've been
at
there.
it, okay? And I was like, dude, what do we do? And I was like, it's more dangerous to climb down the ladder and fall on the rocks. So it's just like you have to jump, right? And the longer you wait, the more you think of all the negative things that are going to happen. But the second you jump and realize that the fear is not real, you evolve as a character.
Yeah.
Right?
And it also is what heightens the excitement.
It does heighten the excitement, like the fear. Fear without, or, you know, if you don't have fear, you can never be brave.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
the bravery is overcoming fear.
Yeah. Doing it anyway.
Be afraid and do it anyways. And that's what we did. We looked over the pier.
Did you hold hands?
We started by holding hands, then we dropped off.
Okay. Because I was in a similar situation in a like a canyon, and
you did a swing?
No, it was like a cliff that went like this. So it didn't go like this. You didn't jump off. It was like this. So you had to kind of walk until you fell off. Like it was just kind of a weird shape to it. But in any event, if it was like this or like this, I got up there and my body physically wouldn't move. Like I couldn't get it to move. So I did hold on to somebody's hand and I went with them.
Yeah.
And then I fell into the water and it was the greatest rush. And I come up to the surface. And I can't wait to do it again. And I went up to the top of the rock and it all happened again.
Yeah.
And I went a couple of times, but I had to have someone else. So some of these things too, like, so you need help sometimes.
And playing with the avatar is
I love this.
Yeah.
I love this because it does allow you that idea of acting is that some people say fake it till you make it, which I don't love. We don't have to fake anything. You just have to put on the costume.
And Shakespeare has this, in As You Like It, he has a beautiful quote where he says, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely play their parts.
Yes.
They have their entrances and their exits. All it is the whole world is a stage. And you could play with this character and evolve the character. And it's like, I believe that this is an avatar, a shell of myself. You and I are sitting on some outside of space and time, maybe an alien spaceship, maybe just an energy, maybe just a cosmic
or maybe just a little finger of the greater part of us is actually this
and we said,
avatar.
Let's just play this one moment.
Now that strikes me as truth.
I believe that's truth.
Yeah. And I might be wrong, but it resonates as truth.
If you accepted it as truth, even if it wasn't, but that was the framework where we are truly, you and I, outside of space and time, and we decided that we wanted to sit in this moment, which is a moment for them and a lifetime for us.
Yeah.
Just so the intersection of our stories touched one time and then went around the ways, right? Just to see what that was like. Yeah. And then we go back to the spaceship.
Yeah. Or it's a white cap in the ocean and we go back into the ocean and we come up as again, and maybe that's all it is.
In a different form.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the deliciousness of the adventure.
Yes. And I think that's the essence of Godmode and Player One. It's like Player One has the avatar that can experience the adventure, and the mindset of Godmode knows that you can create your own reality.
Yeah.